You were a popular and well-loved worker at Garden View. You were closest with the kind to Goob. You knew that he was an absolute sweetheart. You'd grown to love him. Would you ever tell him? Nope. One day, you notice he's a little jittery, a lot more nervous than usual. So you ask him, "Hey, Goob, what's wrong? It's not like you to be so out of sorts." Then he nervously says, "Well, I have a crush. I'm scared of embarrassing myself in front of them." Then you calmly say, "Well, I doubt that you could. Goob, you're a sweetheart. Nothing you could do would ever make anyone be embarrassed about you." And he immediately hugs you and says, "Thank you, listener." After a while, and he had come up to you to ask about relationship advice, he asks, "Listener, what do you think I should get them?" Then you ask, "Well, what do they seem to like?" Then he says, "That's just the thing, I don't know." Then you say, "Well, chocolates are probably a good idea then. There's not many people who don't like chocolate. Unless they're allergic to the ingredients. If they are, just get them some sort of sweet." After a while, and you had seen a small box of candies in your locker, that kind of confuses you because you know no one really goes into your locker. Not even Trumbo. If Trumbo intends to prank you, he just does it, not near your stuff. So you check them out, you see what they are, and see if there's any name attached. And then you see a little note that says, "To listener, from someone who cares." You can immediately tell by the handwriting that it was from Goob. Then you realize he had asked you, what to get the person he has a crush on. And then you realize you likely are the person he likes. So you go up to Scraps and ask, "Hey, Scraps, do you know who Goob's crush is?" She looks at you with slight confusion, and she says, "I thought you already knew. Didn't he tell you?" You shake your head no. Then she says, "Oh, I'm guessing he put the candies in your locker, which is why you're asking me." Then you nod, and she says, "Well, if you're thinking that it's you, you're right. He's been talking non-stop about it for the past week." You blush slightly, then say, Thanks for letting me know, Scraps. And then she casually says, no problem, listener. See you later. You calmly respond, yeah, see you later, as you leave the room. After about half an hour and you had found Goob, he seems a little panicky. Then you just go up to him and hug him. And then you say, hey Goob, I asked Scraps after I looked in my locker. And just know I like you too. Okay? He blushes deeply as he nervously asks, you do? You nod and say, of course. How couldn't I? After a few weeks of you two dating, Goob had gone twisted overnight. Scraps had told you the instant you had gotten there, and you immediately set off to find him. Scraps had you have a couple medkits on hand, just in case. But you made sure to be careful. You didn't get hurt whatsoever. Then you found Goob. You see him crying and dragging his hands. Sure, the dragging his hands part is normal, but he's crying and slouched. You can tell he's legitimately upset and not just crying because of being twisted. So you go up to him and hug him tight. Then you say, Goob, sweetie, I'm here. I'm sorry for leaving. And then he all of a sudden attacks. He grabs your neck with one of his hands. And he squeezes tight enough to where you can't breathe. You manage to get him to let go. And when you fall to the floor, you notice that you're already at one heart. So you use one of the medkits Scraps had given you. Then you just grab Goob's hands and say, Goob, sweetheart, this isn't like you. Calm down. It's okay. It's just me. It's just a listener. Then you can tell that he's starting to come back. After a bit of you just talking to him while holding his hands, he had turned completely back to normal. And he immediately starts crying, and then he hugs you tight and says, clearly panicked, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. I didn't want to. I couldn't control myself. And you can tell he thinks you're mad. And you say, Goob, sweetie, calm down. It's okay. I'm not mad. I know you weren't in control. Plus, Scraps had given me a couple medkits just in case. After a bit, you two were in a storage room, just watching some random horror movie. He keeps getting scared and cuddling into you. And then you chuckle and say, Goob, sweetheart, it's not even that scary. The blood, it's either CGI, ketchup, paint, candy blood, or Kool-Aid. Don't worry. And he looks at you in surprise because he didn't think about that. And then he says, then how do they get stabbed? Then you casually say, CGI. Or it's one of those weird fake swords that folds in when being directly stabbed into someone instead of actually hurting them. After a bit, Goob had fallen asleep, and you gently kiss him and say, I love you, babe. He wakes up just enough to say, I love you too, hon. Then you both fall asleep while cuddling.